Important things covered off then. Let's check out my new Ferrari. Hello, hello, welcome back to TGTV, and more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is new car day today on the channel, and it's also new watch day as well. We are going into two new additions to both of my respective collections, each collection being, I'd say actually equally as important to me. Those that have been following me for a long time know that I'm a big watch guy and a big car guy, and those two things are not mutually exclusive. I could draw you a big Venn diagram and there'd be a load of you that are in the middle of the two things. So if you're into cars or you're not into watches, bear with. So first things first then, a little bit of a preface to this video then. Car-wise, I discussed this particular car in a video a little while ago, and that actually is what spurred a collector into reaching out to me and offering me the car that I've actually bought. So the particular car I bought has actually come about as a result of a collector watching my video where I drove my GT3 RS, 997 GT3 RS in the Cotswolds, and I mentioned that I wanted something Ferrari and manual, and something a little bit more modern than my 250 GT Pininfarina coupe. So that is exactly what has happened. We have got the key right here. This is giving some of you a clue as to what it's going to be. But I did say in that video I wanted something sort of peak era Ferrari for me, sort of 2000s, a little bit of analog with all the benefits of being a modern Ferrari, be it things like electronics that don't go wrong that often and bodywork that doesn't disintegrate into dust. And I think I found the last generation of which, where you get a lot of the classic charm, a lot of the analog vibes, hate the word vibes now, but without having to do any of the bodywork and restoration and all that kind of guff, as it's been seen even by Mr. Seen Through Glass, Sam, with his 360. He's going through basically a restoration on that car, and it's not an old car. It's 2000s or late 90s, so I wanted to avoid that. I had a Testarossa in the past. They disintegrate as well. My 250's obviously been restored, and I wanted something that I can use, had a few miles on the clock, but also hadn't lost that Ferrari spark. So that's where we are with that. And also then, in the same video, we're going to discuss a new addition to my wrist and to my watch collection. This is my 1969 Breitling Chronomatic, just purchased from eBay with confidence, backed by their fantastic authenticity guarantee. I had a Breitling many years ago. When I saw this vintage, iconic and rare 38mm driver style piece, I just had to return to the brand and pick it up. Huge value for money and powered by their legendary 2111 movement. Its PVD square case is seldom seen anymore, and against that golden dial, the contrast is just wonderful. Other options for the price point were another Cartier or Tudor, but I've decided to get another Breitling back in the collection after around 15 years without one. I've now got an eBay storefront where I not only sell occasionally some of my own pieces, but also select some that I'll be watching or want to buy in the future. Link will be below to that, and if you're thinking of buying a luxury watch, buy with confidence with eBay's authenticity guarantee. Look out for the blue tick on the listing. Important things covered off then. Let's check out my new Ferrari. Welcome then, ladies and gentlemen, to my Ferrari F430 Coupe, crucially with a manual gearbox. This, for me, as we'll find out in my first drive video, which is coming after this one, shock horror, I'm splitting it into two parts, it's peak Ferrari. I think this is peak Ferrari for me. I think I finally nailed down exactly what I want from an Italian supercar, and we'll go into why in a second. You'll be thinking, but TGE, this is a 430. You've had a 488 Pista, you've had a 458, you've had a Lusso, you've had two F12s. Why on earth would you take a backward step into a 430? Well, I think these things now are extraordinarily good value, and I think with where Ferrari's going with all their cars, everything having 800 and something or other brake horsepower, this is not a bad place to be. We've got Lewis Hamilton obviously at Ferrari now. It's got me fully on the Ferrari hype train. And these things, F430s, not particularly rare. They made a lot of these cars. It was, of course, produced between 2004 and 2009 as a successor to the 360. And we all know about 360s. Most of you watch Mr. Seen Through Glass's channel, and he is the Ferrari 360 man. I think in the world, actually, he is the 360 aficionado, obviously now with a Challenge Stradale. This is just a Boggo, if you like, a bog standard 430, not a Scuderia, just a 430 coupe, and there is a very good reason I've opted for this particular variant. Not a Scuderia, not a Spider, but the Bogo 430. They were divided up into Gen 1 and Gen 2 cars with some aesthetic tweaks, but by and large, they're pretty much exactly the same thing. This is a Gen 1 car. This is actually a 2005 model. You would not be able to tell that because I put my Chavy number plate on the back of it, and well, it was on the front. I don't know where it's gone. And touching on the numbers part then, there were nearly 17,000 F430s produced. 17,000! That is a lot of cars. However, crucially, and you all know what I'm going to say because you've seen it in the B-roll, and I've already mentioned it, this, excuse my guff in here, this is not only a right-hand drive, which makes it a little bit rarer than the rest, this is a manual, factory manual gearbox with that click-clack there. And why these are so rare is because the F1 gearbox had only really just come out. F1 gearbox was quite a new thing, and at the time everyone wanted their gearbox. All right, mate. Yo, hello. My dog's gonna bite me when I get home now, both of them. All right, there, you go steady. There's lots of cars around. All right, and why people all pretty much went for the F1 gearbox. It's estimated that only about 10%, maybe even less, 430s were produced with a manual gearbox. Everyone else went with the auto. Everyone wanted the pedals, like the Formula 1 drivers. No one wanted the antiquated manual box. And it gets even rarer when you consider that there are only about 120 to 140 odd manual right-hand drive 430s produced. Now, that is actually split into Spiders and Coupes. Obviously Spiders, they languish behind in the desirability factor, but they are actually very, very cool as well. The Spiders are one of the last Ferraris, if not the last Ferrari, to have a see-through engine bay and being able to take the roof off. Latter cars obviously had the fold-up nonsense like the 458, which replaced it in 2009, but that actually covered the engine bay. So the 430 Spider actually isn't a bad car at all, and they are very, very cool, very, very rare. And the auto box ones of these languish about 40, maybe 50 grand behind in value. So they're actually very good value, but manual coupes, I think, is the place to be, and it's exactly what I want from a Ferrari. It is the last Pininfarina naturally aspirated V8 rear-engined Ferrari ever made with a manual gearbox. Quite some accolade. You go back through all the years of the F40 and all of that jazz, this is where it stopped. Now you still might be thinking, TG, that's not a particularly rare car, why do we even care? In fact, you might not care at all. However, the numbers thing starts to make a little bit more sense when you consider there's about 240 odd right-hand drive 430 Scuderias produced, and they had an automatic gearbox. So that was obviously the lightweight variant of this car. No manual version of that available. And there was 240, 250 of those. Ferrari don't give precise numbers. Absolutely no way really of knowing, but only 240, 250 of those. So if you compare that, 120 to 140 manual versions of the 430 split between coupe and Spider, you're starting to see why this is a very rare car. Also with these, a lot of them did get scrapped when they got bumped. They got down pretty cheap. So we lost a lot of them along the way, whereas the lightweight Ferrari variants, they tend to get saved after accidents a lot better than your Bogo models. Coming back inside then, round to the driver's section, you'll notice that you'll notice that we don't have the LEDs that we get in the 458. This was the last model that didn't have it. The shift lights up here, you don't have them. It's all very, very analog in here. We just have analog dials. You get the number of the gear up on those little screens there, and that's about it. You get your mileage and whatnot. That is it. You got your Manatino, and to start the thing, you put the key in, old school key, meaning it's a lot harder to steal one of these things as opposed to a Lusso, which you can nick with basically an app on your iPhone. Turn it one click, press the button, and it fires up. Now, this is a 20-year-old car, so it's not without its 20-year-old car foibles. It's a tiny, tiny bit tired in here, tiny bit. Actually very, very nicely looked after. The carpets are absolutely rich. I'm trying to get my knee out of the way. The screen here is one of these like fold out sort of Halfords type jobbies. I think there was an upgrade by the previous owner. Actually quite a nice job, and this obviously just fits straight into there. You wouldn't know it's there. But all very cool Ferrari old school vibes in here. We've got red stitching everywhere. And one of my favorite bits about cars of this era, Ferrari flexing on the dash there about their Formula 1 prowess. A little less of that these days, a little less to flex about, more on the Le Mans side, but nonetheless, that is a very, very cool plaque to have there. We've got the little Pininfarina badge down here on the center console, and you've got an old school handbrake. So actually very, very cool to have a Ferrari with a proper handbrake like that. Pedals, as you'd expect, are very, very Italian. I was actually wearing my Nike Crocs earlier and I had to go back inside and change my footwear because, as you can see, the accelerator and the brake are basically touching each other. There is very little space between them. We'll go into a little bit more of what it's like to drive in the first drive video, but it's a very cool analog place to be. Not really much going on here. You don't have a plethora of buttons on the back of the wheel like you do on the F12. You've got your horn up here and your Manatino, which gives you ICE, traction control off by the looks of it. I can't really see. Sport, race mode, and then I think that is basically go and have an accident mode, potentially. I actually don't know what that one means. Need to Google it, need to do a bit of research before my videos. And over my shoulder here, we've got the kind of Daytona style seats. We haven't got buckets. I might source them down the line if I feel so inclined. We've got stitching in the headrest, which was an optional extra from new. More Rosso carpet. And we've got that big fat V8 pumping out 490 odd brake horsepower, or 480 something horsepower behind your head there, behind quite a thin piece of glass. Headliner is also actually grey for some reason. I don't really know why that's grey, but all in all, a very, very cool place to be. Couple of little things to do in here, so I will be replacing this at some point. Not ideal, absolutely not ideal. We'll be getting CarPlay and whatnot in there. We've got Bluetooth and stuff already. Buttons are getting a bit sticky, so this up and down button for the windows, that's getting a bit sticky. Other than that, it's actually been really, really well looked after. Previous owner did the Ferrari cavalcades and all the kind of Ferrari events, Ferrari's owners club stuff, Salon Privé, all the rest of it. He had the car for 15 years, PPF'd it, serviced every year, main dealer, Ferrari. It's done just over 30,000 miles, so I can use it and not really care too much. It's not a kind of concourse delivery mileage special. I can actually put some miles on it and use it. But he reached out after my GT3 RS video and said, TG, I've got one of these, and we've been discussing filming together anyway, because he's got some crazy stuff coming. And he said, TG, I've got one of these. It's in the corner of basically my unit with all my cars. Would you like to buy it? You can have it. It's not really for sale, but off market. If you want it, I saw your video. You mentioned specifically a 430 manual. You can have it. And it came at the worst possible time financially for me. But me being me, I made it work. I got onto Charles and Dean and I said, guys, what can we do? And the residuals are so good on these. It's the same story as my 250. The residuals are so good on these that actually the finance is a joke. It is so, so cheap. It actually worked out about the same price as my 997 Turbo. And residually, that's a good car as well. So this was a really, really, really reasonable buy. The market price on these is around 130, I would say, potentially, for a manual coupe. There are none on the market as at the point of filming this. There haven't been for a while, but your sort of low miles, really fresh examples of Spiders, even they're up at about 125, 130. So maybe a nice coupe could be up at 140, 150 now. I don't know. The market hasn't put one up for a while, so we will see. And if you've got one, lob one up for 250. Anyway, I'm gonna plug all my cameras in. We're gonna get going, get on a drive, because it's about to absolutely chuck it down. I wanna get some power down before sliding around and having an accident. So first drive video is coming. And as I said in my intro amble regarding my new watch, make sure you check out my eBay store. I've selected a load of watches that I like the look of, and I do sell my watches on there as well. And that is where I got this with authenticity guarantee. eBay is a fantastic place to buy watches you can buy with confidence. Thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I will see you all very soon for the first drive video and discussing what modifications I'm gonna kick off with in this car, other than sorting out the sticky buttons. So see you then. Bye.